Saints fans, it's going to be another one of these podcasts, a Groundhog Day version. It almost feels like we've had a couple of these this year. Unfortunately, it's been a while since the games happened. We've had a couple of days to digest it, soak it in, watch some other footy, hopefully cleanse our palate a little bit. But yeah, boys, how are we feeling after a demoralizing loss to the Dogs?
Uh, I think Thursday night got me sick. That's how bad it was. So that's why we're doing a remote one. It's been a while since we've done a remote one, but um,
The St
yeah,
Kilda
got the
flu.
the St Kilda Saints footy flu. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's not a game that I've kind of forgotten. It still feels pretty recent to me because all the news and everything that's coming out. It feels like it's the game that broke the camel's back, so to speak, in a way. I think we'll see a fair bit of change. I mean, hopefully in the next couple of days, and then for the rest of the season in selection. So, yeah, disappointing. Oh, I mean, I'm not disappointed. I'm pissed off that we lost the same way. I wanted something different. Just a little, like, not expecting the win, but the fact that we lost the exact same way and the same certain players disappointed in the same way is what annoyed me the most.
For sure. Sammy, what's your read on the game?
I mean, my sentiments are the same. I didn't see us winning that game, but to lose in exactly the same way and basically be watching a carbon copy of how we've played the doggies for probably the better part of 4 years is, disappointing and frustrating. But again, not unexpected with where we're at the moment. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, it's like the loss itself is already hard to swallow. And I didn't actually know this going into the game, but it's gotten some coverage since about the team we rolled out with. It was the fifth oldest on the weekend. We had above the age of 29, Dan Butler, Cal Wilkie, Zach Jones, Jack Steele, Rowan Marshall, Jack Sinclair, Jack McRae, Brad Hill, Mason Wood, Jimmy Webster, all players playing in the side, 29 years or above. We had four players who were first to third year players. Very disappointing compared to when we beat Geelong, we beat Fremantle. We had 7 to 8 first to third year players. So um, those stats definitely do not make the loss any better. It makes it feel a lot worse for sure. And yeah, I think we can definitely forecast some serious changes this week. Um, it's one thing to get rolled playing your kids, but we didn't even do that on the weekend. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm sort of lost for words at that because the only thing I'm feeling is, well, time for some change, time to debut Alex Taru, get Garcia back into the side, Boxall, but yeah, it's just Groundhog Day here once again.
Yeah, I mean, how many of those senior players do you think at least met the standard of what you'd expect for players of that experience?
I mean, Wilkie for
What?
sure,
Yeah.
Sinclair. Outside of that, not that all the others were terrible, but those were the only two that I'd say like genuinely played, a good game. Then there's some
Mm.
average performances, and then some also, not so good ones too, um, which is really disappointing because I understand we're in a rebuild, and I like so it feels. I heard Joe Montagna talking about this. It feels like what we're trying to do is rebuild, but still be a really competitive side at the same time as you do. As much as I can't stand them, Geelong have been doing that for years and doing it successfully, making finals. While sort of rejuvenating their list. But yeah, it sort of leaves us scratching our heads a little bit.
I wonder if like you said, and I want to get Sammy's opinion on this too, but that balance of trying to stay relevant, trying to win games, but also like hovering in that rebuild phase where you're playing kids, but not really. Kind of, we're in the middle of that. Is that like if we had have won a flag recently? Like let's use Richmond as an example. They've won three in the last 6 years or whatever it is. Great, fans can die happy now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we haven't done that, do you think that, like, is that a weird
Mm.
added pressure to the club that they're like, we can't fully bottom out because we've never really hit the top of the mountain anyway? So you hit the top, like Richmond, fans can be forgiving. You need to replenish. But because we've never gotten to that point, the club's terrified of what might happen if we really do go for the full bottom, like go for the full rebuild.
But the thing is, as well, like Unfortunately, we just can't afford to keep on finishing where we've been finishing for the last however long. Like the reality is that positions, let's say 6 to 12, which is where we've been finishing for the better part of a decade, is not going to get you anywhere. It's football quicksand. And the unfortunate reality is we are probably year 3 in what is a 6-year rebuild. I would say there's going to be another year of bottom 4 finish based on our current list, the demographic, senior players that we've got, but there also has to be some selection integrity. Like you can't keep rolling out the same players week in, week out who really aren't putting forward AFL standard performances at all. And it's not just one or two. It's the majority of the senior cohort. The reality is that players like Steele, McRae, Dan Butler, they're not going to be part of the next premiership tilt. They're not going to be around. So I don't see the point in continuing to play these players when they're putting forward passable performances at best. And if you put them in any other midfield, they probably wouldn't make the cut. And as harsh as it sounds, this is an elite AFL club. We have to have standards. I don't know.
Yeah, I think selection integrity is an interesting one because I do think while we do want to play the kids, you can't just be giving kids games for free. Like Darcy Wilson was just out of form. He did probably deserve to be dropped. And then he went down, and I'm sure he'll be back this week. He had a fantastic performance. Boxall, I don't really think he deserved to get dropped necessarily. So, you can go through every player and there is some older players who will they be around? Will they not be? We don't really know at the moment, but it's a difficult balance to maintain the selection integrity because you absolutely do have to, with not just the older players, but with the younger players as well. You can't just be handing out games. So it's a difficult balance to strike, but I just feel like we've just swung way too far the other way. And win, lose, or draw this game, that would have been the case no matter what. We're fielding that many players above the age of 29 in a rebuilding list with, the fifth oldest team running out there on the weekend. So I don't know. What do you make of that, Jake?
It's a tough one. I find it hard to not think of the next 5 years now and not the immediate term. So I feel like it's a very St Kilda thing that we've dropped Lance Collard for the last 5 or 6 weeks or whatever it was. He had that little purple patch, was really good. But I kind of just think what's the value of, we played Dan Butler against Melbourne. He wins us the game pretty much, kicks 4. And then it's so St Kilda that, the next week he's the one that's subbed off, no impact on the game. I'm still thinking if we're getting 6 and 7, 5 and 6 out of 10 type games from certain players, I'll take a 3 out of or 4 out of 10 type game from a Collard because eventually that will blossom. We're seeing the peak of some of these senior players, and they're not going to. If you're delivering 5 out of 10s for the last 2 years, you're not going to suddenly just become a superstar. You've hit your peak at this point. We can't say that any of those senior players that you listed off are going to go up a level. I think Sinks is probably even at his absolute peak. I don't know if he can get better. And he's a great player. And you know what? It's really disappointing that I kind of forgot halfway through the game that it was even his 200th. The guy's a superstar. He's been such a good player for us. And halfway through the game, I forget that's even his milestone.
When can you remember in recent history when we really showed up for a milestone game or a Spuds match? I know we did win that one last year, but it feels like more often than not we're on the worst end of these games. It's so disappointing. Jack Sinclair, just such a warrior for this club, deserves so much better than that. Not only to lose, but just so demoralizing. I really feel for the guy that doesn't get carried off or anything like that. There was no mention of the fact that we were celebrating his 200th game after the game because we're all too busy talking about how horrible that loss was. So
I know, it's fair when you've got a player that's playing 200 games, you shouldn't be going out and almost losing by 200 points. I mean, it's a bit. No, we didn't lose that badly, but you get my point. It was I thought we started to get to the actual game. I actually thought the first 40 minutes of football was better than the last time we played them. Even though we'd kicked less goals, we kind of stayed in it a little bit and the hunt seemed there. It was just, first 5 minutes of the third quarter, they literally put the game to bed and we just fell asleep.
Yeah, agree. Going into halftime, I thought we were down by 4 or 5 goals, but I thought we weren't terrible. We showed up. I thought if we could flick the switch that maybe we could fight back into the game. And real quick, just to circle back to that question you asked about, are we scared to drop? I would say, I mean, yeah, of course they are. They don't want to. Ross doesn't want to come in and in his third or fourth year be finishing, in the bottom four. I can guarantee you he doesn't want to. And obviously, the draft does come into question. But I think, my opinion is once you hit the bottom, it's a lot harder to come back up. Look at West Coast. Look at North Melbourne. Maybe it'll turn around for them, but North Melbourne are supposedly turning it around. They're still in the bottom four, so. Once you go down there, I just think it's a long way up.
Yeah, but you've also got to look at someone like Adelaide. They went through a 6-year rebuild, bottom four for the better part of 5-6 years, and they could well win a flag this year. So whilst, yes, there are teams that spend a long time down the bottom, unfortunately, it's just the way things go around. And you have to be in it and to get good picks, you have to be near the bottom. Like that 8 to 12 position is not getting us the picks we want, realistically. So yes, it might be shit now. Yes, we might finish bottom four, which is looking very, very likely, very realistic because we can't play high pressure teams. We've lost against every single team that has had a pressure rating of good or above this year, apart from Melbourne, which is an anomaly, but they kicked themselves out of that game. So there's an argument to be had there. But if we want top end talent, which we desperately, desperately need, the free agent market is not guaranteed. Unfortunately, a bottom four, bottom five finish is how it's going to have to be.
Even if we finished bottom five, though, the academies, we're going to get pick 8 or 9 anyway. You know what I mean? Like, you'd have to finish dead last. You'd have to get pick 1 before any of those bids come in. And we're not going to finish below West Coast, as much as people might say, Jake, let's just bloody tank and play the kids and lose every game. We're not going to finish. We'd have to do something outrageous to finish at rock bottom, and that's not going to happen. We will upset a few teams at some point. We do that. It's just.
And I'm not saying to bottom out or anything that, but there is a silver lining of finishing bottom four. Yes, it might be a compromised draft, but finishing 8 to 12, it's going to be even more compromised than if you would have finished bottom four. And at this point in time, I think it's very, very likely that we're going to finish bottom four. There's a lot of teams who are going to finish above us at the end of the season.
I just worry with that though. Like, obviously none of us know where we are going to finish. If we do finish bottom four though, I would just seriously worry about our ability to acquire any free agents. De Koning seems like we've got enough money to throw at him, but outside of that, Leckerlia, Miles Bergman, I don't know if they'd be looking at how are you going to sell the vision? Ross Lyon's third year and we're finishing bottom four. It's a difficult line to walk on.
The only thing you can sell now is look at some of these young players that you can play with and play good football with them in 3-4 years time. When they're gelling, you can be part of that. That's the vision. We need to be every membership, ad that we do or anything in the future. It needs to be like 03. Like it was all about Dal, Ball, Rui when they were 21 years old. It was all about selling. This is the future. It's not. This is the now. I don't want to see photos of Sinks, Wilkie, and Steele next year to sell the club. I want to see Tyroo, Filippo, and Naz as the big billboard. That's the way we're going to have to go because people want to come to the football. And you want to see your team win. But if we lose by 7-8 goals on the weekend, but I saw the Flying Viking take a few screamers and play excellent football, and that's a glimpse of what he might be and more, I walk away going, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. I'll take that. But you don't learn anything from anyone on the weekend or on Thursday.
I mean, it feels like the only thing that, for me at least, that got me really excited was just watching Naz again. Like, he's the only draw card that we have to play at the moment to get fans to come to the footy. Like, the crowds are just so disappointing. Like, it is pretty hollow in there. You can hear the players talking to each other. Like, I understand Thursday night crowds, and Ross definitely doesn't want to talk about it, but the club, it's not in the best spot right now.
Yeah, like we're coming off a win. I know it was a bye, so it takes the sting out of it a little bit. But you're playing Thursday night. It's Sinks' 200th. I think they did discounted tickets because of it as well. $20 for 200 games or whatever it was, and you still like. I personally kind of expected that crowd anyway because Thursday night's freezing. People would rather just. It's all about the TV viewership, in my view. The Thursday night games.
It's true.
I don't read into that too much, but you just got to win games. People turn up when you're good.
And I mean, that being said, this Saturday has sold out. So
I wonder why.
No, obviously,
Yeah.
obviously,
It's
it's
just
going to be.
no,
I was going to say.
It's Tyroo, mate. Tyroo's debuting. That's why.
Yeah, of course. That's
and
definitely.
and Collingwood fans.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other point is, I don't like teams off the bye. Never have. We'll see what happens with Collingwood this Saturday.
Yeah.
But teams off the bye predominantly are not particularly good and very sluggish. So there's a bit of that in it, but there's also a bit of we just can't handle pressure. All of our wins have come from teams that have displayed a pressure rating on average of below average or less. That's 5 wins. And then 7 from 8 losses have come from teams that have displayed above average to whatever pressure rating, bar Melbourne, who kicked themselves out. So there's something in that. We just can't handle pressure. And the skills just aren't good enough. Like, you've got players kicking the ball out on the full, uncontested under a roof. I don't know. It's just really poor vision.
The Dogs just love us, guys. Like I reckon if they could if they look at the fixture and go, who do we want to play? Give us the Saints twice. I reckon they genuinely think, like they just know that they can do that to us. When you just have that form against a team, even if that team might, not be statistically the worst team in the comp, they probably just go, well, the way they play and the lack of risk taking that we do, the Dogs will capitalize on that. And they did it twice.
For sure. I was actually flicking through some old footy records to bring into the pod this week, and I found the 09 prelim, the 2010 prelim. I was like, I remember when we used to be good against the Dogs back in the day.
Yeah, who would have thought when you watch the 09 prelim and 10 prelim, you're like, which team's going to win a flag in the next 10 years? It's not going to be the one that's absolutely dominant. Sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but if you all forgot about our history, this is where you get a history lesson. Should we jump into some positives? We can't really.
Yeah, I was just going to say we'll turn the page.
So
yeah. I thought Marcus Windhager was a shining light on the weekend. He shut Bont down, which we were talking about. Size wise, is that matchup going to work? He did a really good job, and I mean, all the Doggies boys were getting stuck into him, and Windy just head down, stayed the course, did the job, did it well. Obviously, it didn't translate into us winning, but to hold Bontempelli to 14 touches, 3 tackles, for his standards, it's a pretty poor game. So I love the way Windhager's playing. Like I mentioned this last week, but his game starts with his opponent. He can shut his opponent down and then find the ball from there. He's doing a really great job.
Yeah. Well, he was voted Mosh Man of the match by the Saints.
For sure, I should have mentioned that. Yeah,
Saints TV faithful. The saner of the round was Jack Sinclair, and he was obviously second in line. But I think a lot of people valued the fact that it was a youngster that had a big role, and he stuck at it for 4 quarters, and he was incredibly disciplined. And his goal was the epitome of just hard work and wanting to do something. The tackle, which I didn't know he laid until I saw the replay, but he laid the tackle and then actually finished his work, was you just want that from the rest of his teammates.
Yeah. No, he could certainly hold his head high. He had a great performance. If you're dealing with hair loss, Mosh is here to help with clinically proven treatment. Starting at just $24 a month, you can regrow your hair 100% online. No clinics needed. Plus, you'll get discreet delivery and unlimited support. Use code SaintsTV50 for $50 off your first treatment plan. Join over 60,000 Aussies already seeing results. Visit getmosh.com.au. Jake, shall we get stuck into junk mail?
Yep, this will be fun.
Jake is junk mail. Jake is junk mail. Jake is junk mail. Jake is junk mail.
All right, we'll go through a couple of written junk mails, and then we've got quite a few audio messages to get through. So
Can't wait.
Just bear with us. Yeah. Charlie's asking, do we follow Richmond's model in last year's trade period and trade out current stars that have currency for picks?
Depending on who we acquire. If we acquire TDK, I love Ryan Marshall, but Geelong need a ruckman and GWS want a ruckman. You can get end of first round for him. I'd take it. If we get TDK. You've got to make hard decisions, and that's one of them.
Yeah, you sort of got to go player by player and see. Like, I wouldn't want to be dropping a Cal Wilkie or a Sinclair unless they were requesting it and we were going to get a monster deal back from them. But yeah, I mean, I'd certainly look into it. But I think they do every year anyway. I don't think that's much of a statement to say, oh, they should look into it. Of course they're looking into it.
100%, yeah. This one's from Michael. He said, I figured you might need some humor after a horror night. I couldn't get to the game, so I was relegated to watching and listening to the world's worst broadcast. After listening to the first half of Mr. 3.9 nonsense, I watched the second half on mute. An NBA basketball ring is 3.05 meters. Are we really sitting here thinking that Darcy's reach is almost 1 meter greater than an NBA basketball ring?
I'm pretty sure SEN debunked this morning.
Did.
I think it's is it 345 or 355?
355 his reach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, who would have thought that a player that's really tall has such a big reach? I mean, that's absurd. I mean, look, if Caleb Daniel had that reach, I'm going, that's news. But it's one of the tallest forwards in the game. Like, get a grip. Is that really news? Is that really impressive?
And water is wet.
I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I mean, saying it's a great reason to get down to the games. You don't have to listen to any of that putrid commentary.
I wonder what the Flying Vikings reach will be, you reckon, on the weekend?
I guess we'll find out.
356. This one's from Anthony. What is more of a concern? Playing Zach Jones, lack of pressure, or Ross laughing over 4 times while the camera was on him in the box? Play Boxall for the remainder of the season, otherwise he'll just go home to the Eagles. Shout out to Steph, who forced Saints footy on me.
I don't think Ross laughing in the box is anything to see there. That's just whatever. He's just being himself. Let him just coach the games. He can do whatever he wants with his face. Boxall, I mean, I had in my team, I thought Boxall should have played over Jones. In hindsight, I'm sure the coaches would probably agree.
I mean, to be fair, I think all the senior players were pretty much abject on the weekend. I don't believe in pinpointing Jones. He's been fairly good the whole season. The problem is our pressure. It's non-existent, and we can't handle pressure. That's the real problem.
Yeah. This one is from James. Every good game is followed up with 2 to 3 terrible games. It feels like the world is against this club at the moment, and we continue to feed into the narrative. We lack so much heart out there. It just looks like no one wants to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, apart from the usual 3 players. We need kids that bleed red, white, and black. It feels like, aside from a handful, no one does. The road to a relevant team seems impossibly hard, especially with heart and soul guys like King and Filippo out. How can we fix this?
I mean, of course it's hard. It's AFL footy. It's never going to be easy. But yeah, I think it's all just about developing the right culture. And I think that's why you want to have one vision, stick to it, and see where that takes you. And despite these losses, they've been demoralizing and horrible to watch. You know, I still want to stick with Ross's plan for the next few years, see where it takes us. It's better than, sitting in a situation like Carlton is, where they've just got a revolving door for their coach every couple of years. So stick to the plan. And if there's any major red flags, then, they need to be addressed. Maybe there's a couple at the moment, but I'm sure and I hope that, the CEO, the president are keeping Ross accountable to the plan that he set forward like a couple of years back when he took over.
Yep. Let's move on to some audio messages. We've got quite a few, so hopefully people enjoy it. We're getting more and more every week, so thank you everyone for sending it in. There's a lot of passion in some of these, so let's hear it. This first one is from Daryl.
Well, it's the same stuff over and over again, isn't it? We have 4 or 5 players who get in the best every week, and then we have the rest. We're just held up by a back line most of the time, Wilkie, Sinclair, Naz. But the rest of the team is really mediocre. I guess the question is, do we really have to strip back now and go to the bottom for a couple of years before Tassie comes in and try and make something of our list? Because there's a whole bunch of guys approaching 30 who just aren't up to it. And I think we've just got to agree to see that and then move forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of flagged that before, but it's a fine line when you make that sort of choice. So I think first step is this week, the type of team we play, I think will give us a little bit of a hint as to what the approach will be, at least for the next 10 weeks. And then from there, next year's next year. We'll worry about that when it happens.
100%. I mean, he makes valid points, though, and the unfortunate thing is we just have to take the long road. This is what we've stuck to, you know, building via the draft, and I think we've got to do that. But he's right. There are a lot of players in that sort of, 28 years plus echelon who simply are just not good enough and not to AFL standard.
Yeah, and he's right when he says the back line really is the saving grace for some of these games. Because if we didn't have Wilkie, Hammer was pretty serviceable, I thought, on the weekend. Naz obviously does Naz things. And Keeler when he goes back there, and he was a bit of a highlight on the weekend. Like he looks even a little bit better and more comfortable forward of the ball. So I don't know if going back has helped him, but that was a positive.
Yeah.
Let's go to Chris.
When is the pro-Ross Lyon contingent of St Kilda fans going to finally admit that the defensive style of Ross Lyon's 2-decade-old game plan is never going to get us anywhere in modern football?
And that's a strong one.
Yeah. I'd say, first of all, like, you do got to account for the fact that 23, 24, those years combined, we were the number one defense in the competition. This year, obviously, it slipped right away, but we don't have Josh Battle. We don't have Dougal Howard. The list is like being completely rejuvenated. I don't know. I'm not there yet. I'll just say that much. But a couple more years of this, and I probably would be.
Yeah, I just want to see. I mean, I keep saying I want to see the best 23 on the park, and by that I mean I want to see the pillars at either end. I'm sick of seeing a bare forward line. No disrespect to Sharman and Owens, but they are not cut out to be the number 1 and 2 tall forwards. They're not going to take the heat. They do not bring enough of the footy to the ground, and they don't make those tall defenders accountable. So they need a Max King there, despite the hate that he gets, and we know the news, and he's pretty much done for the year, which is not really a surprise to anyone. But I think it's been debunked a few times that Ross isn't really deliberately playing a defensive type of game. When we can run the game and attack it like Melbourne in the first quarter, we kick 6-7 goals very quickly.
But the problem is when we're under heat and when we're there, the other team has a high pressure rating, we go defensive and it's stuck inside our defensive 50. So we only play offensive football when we play low pressure rated teams. And I don't know whether that's a coaching directive or otherwise, but it's very obvious.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, is like not being able to succumb to pressure. Is that a coaching thing or is that players?
Well, I don't know what the directive is because, we play against high pressure teams. We go into this defensive structure. Maybe that's because the ball is constantly locked within our defensive 50 and our defensive half. As to whether that's a directive, I don't know. Maybe we just go into our shells, play very safe football, overuse it. But, they're the two sort of, obvious styles that we play. We only play offensive when it's easy.
Yeah. I'd say last thing to the question or the comment is that, like you said, Jake, I want to see Ross Lyon with a proper forward line, and then we can truly judge if, he has any offensive game to his coaching.
Yeah. He's pretty much, since he's been back, he's been operating with a Caminiti, Owens, Sharman combination. Cordy, couple of games, I think. Obviously Keeler's come in. Max King, he's missed for probably 65%, 70% of his coaching tenure so far. I just find it very different. And look at the weekend, boys. Look at some of the bags that some of these tall forwards are kicking. Like, it's across the competition. It's coming back into vogue, having that gun, big power forward. We thought maybe the game was more run and gun and small forwards, medium size, and being mobile and agile and having midfielders kick goals was the thing. But you see the weekend, most teams that won, they had a power forward that stood up and was a presence. And that's not a lie. Look at some of the winners. Look at Geelong and Jeremy Cameron. Look at GWS and what they did with Hogan and Cadman. I think I'm missing another one there. I think
Georgiades was
Georgiades, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, Georgiades last night.
Crazy
Excellent game. And I dare say Curnow, if he had have played the full game against the Eagles, would have kicked 4 or 5 anyway. So he always does that against them. So it's such an important position to get right. And
we need King back is the bottom line.
Yeah, but it's just...
We need King back and we need a backup. Because
we need a proper
can't
backup.
rely on him to get through a whole season at this rate.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
This one is from Grace.
Ugh, just why? Why, Saints?
Yep. I mean, is that a why Saints? Why Saints? Like, I'm trying to say, is that a question or is that just an expression? I think she's just pissed off like all of us. I think that's just. I don't say why Saints. I'm just like, why did why have I done this to myself? That's more the question.
I think we were
here we
all
are.
grace on Thursday night.
Yep. Thanks, Mum, for getting me into the Saints. This one is from Josh.
Marshall on the forward line, Boyd in the rock. See what that does. While King is still injured, put Marshall on the forward line, bring the ball down to the ground so Butler, Higgins, Caminiti can work.
I don't mind it, but we
Caminiti.
saw it in round 1 and we lost by 10 goals.
I know,
So,
yeah.
I'm not so sure about that.
I don't know if
Maybe try it again.
Caminiti's not getting to work as a small forward, I don't think. But I do like the idea. I've wanted it all year. Just give me one bloody game where Rowan Marshall doesn't have to be the ruck and just put him at full forward, him and Keeler, and then put Boyd. We got Boyd. Just play him.
I think a reason I'd want to see it again is because if we do attain TDK, it would be worth seeing, can Rowan Marshall be a reliable tall forward? Is that the guy that we want to pair with King? Like, let's see.
Imagine we played him forward and just said, we're going to bite the bullet. Max Heath, you've got the rest of the season, mate, to save
Max
your
Heath.
contract.
There you go.
To save your contract, we're going to play Rowan Marshall forward row. Imagine if he kicks a bag one game and, I don't know, he finishes the year with 30 goals. We're all like, we've uncovered something here. That's
I want to see, now that you've
Saints
said
fans
that.
want to see.
Yeah, I want to see that for sure.
This is from Thomas.
Yep, it happened again. Going down to the Bulldogs by 10 goals plus at Marvel. Why does it happen? And why does it feel like it's the exact same game?
I mean, we didn't...
Why does it happen?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, what do you reckon, Sammy? Like, they would have watched the other game in the review. They would have rehashed that during the week. The only thing we improved on wasn't the losing margin. They actually increased that by a point. It was just negating Bond. But then every other mid got off the chain anyway, so it didn't really matter.
I mean, it's a myriad of things, right? I think it can boil down to poor coaching, poor performances, poor mindset. As far as I'm concerned, if you're placing a tag on any player, you just don't have belief in your structure, because your structure should hold up, whether one player is a standout or not. The tag, it really isn't doing much. We've seen it time and time again because someone else will pull the reins. So I don't know, but at the end of the day, it's just a distinct lack of pressure. You know, is it because we just came off the bye? Maybe there's a part of that to play, but you know, there's so many things going on here. It's lack of skills, lack of pressure. I don't think the coaching box was prepared at all. I don't think the players were prepared at all. So,
I mean, the tag worked against Melbourne, though.
Yeah, I mean, the tag worked against Melbourne.
Different, though.
Yeah,
but I mean, you know, if we're gonna spit it on its head, if they had a kick straight, they would have beaten us by about 6 goals. So, you know, someone will pick up the ropes eventually.
All right, let's go. Let's go to Tom. Let's speed these ones up.
Hey, guys. First of all, start off on a positive note. Love what you're doing. Love the pod. Been a fan for pretty much from the start, really. Actually got featured, funnily enough, in Junk Mail last time we played the Bulldogs and got absolutely spanked. So thanks for that. Probably my most significant claim to fame. But anyway, enough about my depressing life and on to the more depressing St Kilda. Basically, what I'm thinking is, what do we look at from a game like that and hang our hat on? Like, how do you watch that happen again in the same year and go, it's all good because we're developing in this way, or yeah, that was shit, but you know, I can see this evolving here, so it's all good. I just can't see that. The only player that really seems to have really developed significantly is Naz, and there's no guarantee we're even going to see him in St Kilda colours next year. So, yeah, basically, how do we sort of keep hope after all this time and just seeing the same thing happen over and over again? But anyway, cheers, boys. Also, I'd love a job if you're hiring. I'm not really good at anything other than talking shit. So if you got
good one for
work
that.
for that, I'm in.
Love that it just cuts out. I'm in. On your Tommy. Yeah, I think
Great chat.
not to go through it in great detail, but I think just play the kids, give us some excitement, something to look forward to in the future years. And I mean, the fact that Filippo might be fit this weekend actually really excites me. So that's put a little bit of a spring in my step. So that's sort of
Isaac
stuff is what we're
Keeler?
all about. Isaac Keeler.
Isaac Keeler's looking good. Travaglia has really clean
Caminiti.
skills.
Yeah.
So there's some positives to be had there, and the more games they get at
100%.
AFL level, the better, because they're not
Yeah.
getting anything done at VFL level, and that team is abject to say the least. So what's to lose? Yeah, you'll maybe get pumped, but might as well get some senior games into these boys.
Yeah, I loved seeing Maxi haul around the ball a little bit more. His kick to set up Higgins' goal was a beaut. He's an absolute roost of a kick. So
for sure,
I'm loving what Maxi Hall's done. Let's go to Andy. We've got quite a few more, so hopefully you're enjoying it, Sainers.
Hey Saints TV. In round 8, the Saints belted Freo by 10 goals, and Jeff White did a terrific analysis of St Kilda's decision to abandon a zone defence and to simply play man-on-man football. Every player was accountable to an opponent, and by winning and trusting the ability of players to win one-on-one contests, that innately created a zone defence that was far more resilient to opposition forays. Furthermore, it showed what St Kilda could do to overcome a glaring weakness in our midfield, as we made a Dockers midfield that prides itself on stoppage and clearance work look toothless. Since then, the Saints have played similarly built teams like Carlton and the Bulldogs. Again, two teams that don't have a lot going on the outside, but who win games by stoppage and clearance work on the inside. In both games, we reverted back to that flimsy zone defence, and on countless occasions in both games, I saw Blues and Bulldogs players move the ball far too easily out of half-back and get out the back of our defence, with players trailing their opponent consistently in our defensive 50. Why have we abandoned the man-on-man defence that bought us so much against the Dockers?
That's a very good.
What a
observation
succinct
by Andy.
junk mail. I love it.
100%. He had that on cue cards, didn't he?
Yeah, perfect.
Surely. Love that, Andy. That was good. Keep
He
those
didn't just
coming.
click record and just think of his question on the fly.
No, but we love those too, Ari. We
love
those
them all.
are
We
coming.
love them
Don't
all.
worry. I left them last.
Oh,
but,
good. Even better.
I reckon I think that's exactly what Sammy's been talking about. I reckon, like, if you watch the Fremantle game back, the communication and the absolute focus by our players to rotate who was on who and stay man on man in different situations was next level. But clearly that can't be maintained. Clearly we're not at that point where we can trust every player to pick a bloke and stick to them and rotate and communicate without losing structure. So that comes down to when the teams put the pressure on and we don't control the pressure. We controlled the pressure in that game. So we really attacked them in a defensive type of way. When teams come at us and it's quick and it's handballs and this and that, one bloke leaves a bloke to put pressure, his teammate doesn't cover it, there's no communication, there's players free everywhere. And we saw that against Carlton in parts of the game, and we saw that pretty much the whole game against the Dogs. So I don't think it's any surprise, really. I think that's inexperience mixed with not handling the pressure and execution and communication. That to me is what that is. But I agree, man on man is just a good fail-safe, I think. It's just a good go on that, beat your man, done deal, So go man on man against Collingwood. I'd love that. If we go zone against Collingwood, that's a worrying sign. I think they can cut you open with the zone. I think
they'll pick us apart if that happens.
Yeah, I think you got to go man on man and just bring the absolute hit. Any possession they get, hit them, tackle them, pressure them, rush them, do whatever you can to make it a battle. You win those battles, you win more of those than you lose, you're in the game. You're in the game. This one's from Glenn.
G'day, boys. Got to put the Heath in the ruck and give all the young kids a go. Nothing to lose. Might as well do it now.
Oh, there you go.
I like it. Yeah, like we spoke about.
Some of these aren't questions, obviously, so they're just passionate statements, which I like.
Yeah, I think he's overdue for a debut.
Yeah, let's go to Jack.
Hey boys, just wanted to say a quick message and say obviously love the podcast. I'm a weekly listener and just want to say to keep up the good work for all of you lot. Love the work that you do behind the scenes. My sort of voicemail is in regards to a video I just saw on 7AFL stating that we had up to 10 players above the age of 29 played last week, and other than Collingwood, it was the most by any other team. But yet we have the 5th youngest list in the league and the 5th youngest by experience with games. So just want to get your thoughts on where we sort of go for the rest of the year, whether we've knocked out, we're not making finals, and we just play the kids, or you reckon we try to play these older senior more players like Zach Jones and stuff like that to get more games on the belt, who might be fighting for more of a career and for like a contract next season. So just want to get your thoughts on that.
It kind of reminds me of something about like, getting value for players that might not be part of our future, but we could trade and we could get a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick. You run the risk of completely throwing that out the window if you don't play some of these players anyway, and it's like, shit, you don't play them at all, no one's going to want them, and they probably just get delisted or retire, let's face it. Or you play them, they hit a sweet spot of form, and you might sneak a pick in the 40s or 30s that might work for some other trade down the line. So
it's not like strategy. You need to tip out all your senior players. Like, you have to play senior players. You have to have senior players for direction, for leadership. Otherwise, you're going to be in a North Melbourne situation where they really don't know what's going on. So you need senior players, but as to what ones you need is the question. There's quite a few on there who probably don't deserve to be playing at AFL level at the moment, but there's others who do. So,
yeah, I think Jack Carroll, give him a bit more of a run as well. This is from Joshy.
G'day, guys. Before I start, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Ari first. I reckon his videos, his insights, they're really valuable and they make a lot of sense. And I reckon he does a really good job. So, Ari, keep up the good work, a big fella. But to the game against the Dogs, mate, was it just me or was the imbalance in free kicks and sometimes the seeming double standard that seems to present itself at times just made me pull my hair out, really. At some point, it was 4 frees to 14 in favour of the Dogs. I'm not saying that that's the reason we lost. We were absolutely morbid with the ball, but what did you guys reckon? What did you guys think? Let me know.
If you're getting smashed in possession, you're gonna give away more frees. You have more of the ball, you get more frees. It's as simple as that. And you lose by 72 points. I don't give a shit where the free kicks lie. That has nothing to do with anything. Yes, there are a few bad ones, but who cares? Happens every game.
I mean, there were some absolute howls
there were.
in the first half. Let's not forget.
Yeah. The Darcy one in front of goal where he should have got paid the mark, but they didn't, and they made it even. And there was a couple of absolute blatant throws, and I think they had four free kicks from, like the one where Rose spoiled English and then English snaps the goal. Like, that's an absolute joke of a free kick. But it doesn't change the game. But like, that was in the first half where the game was kind of within reach. So it kind of kills momentum. It doesn't kill the game, but it kills momentum to get back into it. And then from there, it was just it was all
it's like, really. It's already frustrating enough watching your team get belted.
I know,
let alone these other, dodgy free kicks across the ground. But it would have made a difference. But whatever.
We don't have players that make it obvious when they're infringed.
Yeah.
Like, Owens gets infringed as much or if more than Darcy in that game, but he just doesn't make it. He's almost too tough for his own good in a way, because he just pushes the bloke off and the free kick's not there because he's just won the battle physically. But Max King would draw those free kicks. He would get chopping arms. He'd be being held. But we just don't have anyone that demands, I guess, that level of attention that results in free kicks. That's kind of how I see it.
Sure. Also appreciate the chat.
Yeah, that was nice from Josh. Last two now. Let's go to Tim.
Hey, gents. I'm in my 50s. I have seen all sorts of levels of St Kilda. I'm at the point where I can only use humour to deal with what I had to watch on Thursday night. Just wondering where you guys are at as far as
the trauma response
range of emotions that St Kilda will elicit from you. Thanks for the show.
We're getting into deep waters now.
Yeah. I don't know. How do you guys deal after a loss? What do you guys go home and do? Because I just go home, forget about footy, don't look at my phone, watch a movie.
You two have got it good, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I'd have to do a review straight away. Yeah.
Yeah, do my job for a week, and
Oh god.
and then you'll feel pain. No, I love what I do. It's that's a joke, but I'm glad it was a Thursday night game. That helps me detox a little bit, because usually it's a Sunday night, and then we're straight into the pod Monday night, and it's fresh, and you kind of carry that with you. But it's funny when you hear a few things like Filippo might be fit, this and that. Like, it's almost like you forget about the game that's just gone, and you suddenly get excited again, in a way.
Yeah.
So, like, come Thursday,
the
I'll be
next
pumped.
week.
If the teams come out the way I want them to, I'll be pumped for Saturday night, just to be the underdog, and try and take down the team that's absolutely flying. It's a good challenge, That's how you repay the faith. You put in a performance against the best team in the comp, but, I'm probably asking for too much, but we'll see. What about you, Sammy?
But
What do you do?
It would be so St Kilda to lose to West Coast and beat the ladder leaders in the same season. Like, I
100%.
wouldn't even be surprised at this rate. It's just something we would do. It's something we would do. But a new week brings new challenges. Best team in the comp. They really just don't leave the MCG, so we're getting it at Marvel, so that's nice. I'm keen to see on how we match up against them. Playing against Tim Membry. Tim's had a good year. That I'm also excited to see. So, we'll see how it goes, and sold out crowd. So that is another thing to be excited about. Yes, we might be outnumbered, but who cares? Sold out crowds are fun.
Yeah. Lucky last, we'll go to Vince, and then we'll talk about that very game.
Hi guys, this is Vince from Tasmania. I just wanted to ask you guys your thoughts on Liam Henry. Is he just one of those players that just can't perform to his optimum at the lower level? But yeah, just really concerned with Liam Henry output this year. Just wondering if you guys have got any thoughts. I'm just hoping that he's still trying to build a fitness base and there's been no falling out with Ross or the coaching staff. Cheers. Thank you.
I've been talking about this ad nauseum. Like, the first remark he made about, I just don't think he's a VFL player. Maybe that's just giving him an out, but it's like, put him up to AFL level. Let's see what he can do. He's played a half of AFL footy all year. I am concerned that maybe there is some sort of falling out behind the scenes. I have no idea, but it just seems that way because it's bizarre that he hasn't played a game all year outside of that one where we subbed him out. So we know his best is good enough. Let's put him back in the side. Surely it's time.
But I think the other thing is, anyone who's watched the VFL games, that team, calling them poor would be an understatement. The ball just does not come into the forward 50. It really just doesn't. So it's very hard to sort of make any sort of assessment from any player who's in, our offensive half of the field, because the ball just does not go there. They get, smacked pretty much week in, week out. So you can't, it's with a grain of salt, those statistics.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, I think. But that's, more to the point, is if he's going to be struggling at Sandy, what's the point? Just, I guess, give him a game here and there. And we did, and he was subbed off very quickly. So that was a while back. But, I mean, he was putting, the last couple of weeks, he's putting, 17 disposal, 16 disposal games together. What are we waiting for? Is he supposed to do 40 and 5? Like, that's not going to happen in that Sandy team. No one's going to be doing that. Let's be frank. It's not going to happen. We're going to be losing most weeks. And if anything, it's just the VFL blokes just have to, the VFL, AFL listed players are just going to have to buy their time until some of the AFL players are copping that much heat. They need a break. And then they just get their chance. And then you better take it. Because that might be the last time Tyroo plays VFL for the rest of the year if he puts in a good performance against Collingwood.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget about Henry. He's a top 10 pick, about 23 years old. Like, he's the exact sort of player we should be playing games. Like, you talk about giving games to the kids. He is that player.
Yeah, yeah. He's part of the future. We forget that, but he can.
He's on the membership ad.
Well, there you go. Yeah, he is. And when the boys run out, they play him and King and Filippo, and then none of them are playing. I'm like, just update this video, please. Update it. Just put who's actually playing there. Surely they could have just swapped him out with a few, Yeah. But anyway, that's all the messages. So I appreciate that from all the passionate Saners out there. We know it's a it's always a very mixed weekend of emotions, and we'll ride it here with you on Monday night. So appreciate that. But now, I guess we'll just go over Saturday night for a couple of minutes before we wrap up.
For sure. I think, my first thought is like, what you guys talked about, I wouldn't even be surprised if we won. Like, my stance has not changed from last week. The gap between our best and our worst is, bigger than almost anyone's in the comp. We have it within us to play a very competitive, 120 minutes of footy, challenge them all the way till the end. Maybe that results in a win. I don't know. But like the same way I wasn't entirely surprised that we, lost to West Coast. I wouldn't be surprised to see us show up in a big way in this game. Can we pull it off? I mean, it's going to be bloody hard, but I'd hope that the effort and intensity would significantly have lifted from Thursday night, 9-day break. So yeah.
Yeah. Like I see, it's weird. I see, and let me know if I'm way off on this, but I see Collingwood as the better team than the Dogs, but I see the Dogs as a team that when they sniff an easy kill, they will absolutely destroy you and want to put on a cricket score. Whereas Collingwood, it's almost like they toy with you a little bit and they think you're in with the chance, and then they go up a gear and then they do it in 20 minutes and you lose by 30, but if they gave that for 4 quarters, you lose by 70. But they don't belt teams, which kind of, I'd have to look at their fixture, but to me, I just don't see them putting on the scores the Dogs do when they're on top. It's a bit more of a comfortable 35 to 40 point win, and they're cruising for most of the game. Maybe because they're that good and they don't have to go up a gear. What do you reckon, Sammy?
I think they are that good. I think they're the best team in the AFL by a country mile. A lot of people say Sam Mitchell. I disagree. I think Craig McRae is the coach. Their structure and their game plan is second to none. And Collingwood have a few stars, but they don't have a lot of stars. But they just hold up. They know how to hold teams at bay. Their defensive structure is strong. They play man on man. They pick you apart in their forward line. They're an excellent team. And they also have a lot of players with excellent football IQ. Pendlebury, Sidebottom, both Dacos brothers. So, they beat a lot of teams in all metrics, and it doesn't matter if it's by 5 points or 30 points. They're not interested as long as they get 4 points at the end. But they are a very, very hard team to play because their structure is so good, because they have players with such good football IQ. So this is a game that will very much be won and lost out of the coach's box. And how do you match up against them? Well, we know a Nick Dacos tag does not work because someone else will just pick up the reins. It doesn't work. So I think it's, what that gentleman was saying earlier, let's go back to man, play man-on-man football, try and pick apart their system. But it's not going to be easy because they are an excellent team and they are mature and experienced.
Yeah.
Despite what you say, Sammy, I still think Ross is sending Windy to Dacos at the first bounce or wherever he is on the ground. So I just think it's going to happen either way.
Put Garcia on him head to head or Phillip.
Oh, that'd be fun to watch. Yeah.
Just give him. I'd rather see Windy run off a bloke and introduce Garcia back into the footy with just following the best player in the game.
That'd be fun to watch.
I think. Yeah, sorry, you guys, Ari?
No, I was just going to say, for any of the senior players that do hold their spot, this is the week to lift. Like, if it's not this week, there's just going to be so many question marks over all of their heads, outside of a few. So show up this week, actually lead from the front, be the senior player that we need you to be. Because, we're coming up against 23 senior players practically. That's Collingwood's entire list. So we're going to need some leadership. We're going to need some age out there. But yeah, this is the week. Steele, McRae, Butler, if you hold your spot. There's plenty others. Brad Hill, get to work.
And I'm excited to at least see our back line against a forward line that's not got absolute twin towers. Obviously, they kick scores anyway because they're so well structured, and they have a lot of medium-sized forwards like Jamie Elliott. Hoskin Elliott, when he plays, drifts down there, obviously. And Bo McCreary is also very good. I rate him. So they've got certain players like that can hurt you, but it's just going to be nice to see Cal Wilkie probably get, I don't know what. Would he play on Tim Membry? Cal Wilkie?
Maybe.
Is that going to be little reintroduction there for old teammates. And then Jimmy Webster to Elliott, or Stocker to Elliott, or maybe both.
Someone needs to go to Bobby. I put Webster.
Yeah, I mean,
to
they
Bobby.
got Maya check as well.
Maya check. So that's a Caminiti job, I reckon. Maya check.
Yeah. Yeah, so probably Wilkie is lining up on Membry.
Yeah. So
shout out to
There
Membry,
goes
by the way.
Hey? Oh,
McStay.
That's going to be Tyroo. Oh, no, Caminiti. Tyroo will play back if he plays. So you got
I almost put Tyroo on Membry.
Tyroo on Membry would be a great one, because Membry...
His first game, wow.
Why not?
Yeah,
Throw
I
him
think...
in the team.
Yeah, do it. Stuff it.
Yeah.
Unless you put Keeler back again, but I don't think they will. I think they'll persist with him forward.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They don't usually have McStay, Maya check, and Membry all on at once, so I think you can probably cover them with our two tolls, but yeah, we'll have to see. I love that we're all just talking about Taru like the team's already been named. Because it does feel like that much of a given at this point.
Surely
all the journos are talking about it. They're all tweeting and writing articles. It's so scripted that the club would have said, "Look, we're going to play him this week. Start drip feeding a few things to get the Saints up and about."
As we should, yeah.
He should have played a few weeks back, but glad that he's had that sort of career best game, if you will, in the VFL to kind of make it that clear that we should select him based on integrity and not just because he's a blonde kid that can fly and take marks like someone we've watched for so many years before. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't care. It's a new. I'm telling myself it's a new week, but I mean, it'll be good to be at Marvel full house against a team that everyone loves beating.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
gonna win on Saturday night prime time.
That's it. We've got more eyeballs
straight
on
out,
us.
hit the club.
You know what? If we got up, I'd probably do my review in the car and then head back out if we get up for sure. Go out for a few wines. That'd be
platform.
Yeah, that's one way to get the fans up and about, because they haven't lost in 7 weeks. It's been a while.
It's been a long time since they lost. They've only lost 2 this season, I think.
Twice, yeah. They lost round 1, then they went on a 6-game winning streak, lost again, and they've been on another 6-7-game winning streak. So, if you're going by law of averages,
and the bye,
and the
bye, how much I hate teams off the bye, so who knows?
I'd say get to the game, but it's gonna sell out. You said Ari. So members, you can get in. I'll be GA. Yeah, GA up top, nice and early.
No. I don't know if something's wrong with us, but I'm genuinely excited for this game. A couple of days off of the heartbreak of the Doggies match. I'm like, let's just get back. Let's get that taste out of our mouth and surely show up this week and give it a good shake up.
I mean, if you don't get up and about, I mean, that's a sad world. That's a sad world, isn't it, boys?
It's a good stage for Taru to debut on, though.
Oh, I kind of had a feeling that if he was going to debut, it was going to be in a big game. And not a big game for the context of our season, but a big game, big crowd in front of the biggest team. This is where you can make a name for yourself, son. So, we're saying it like he's debuted.
Son.
We don't know.
You sound so old when you say son, by the way.
Yeah,
I know. I felt old. I feel old. I've got man flu, so I'm like, that's probably what it is. A bit delirious from it, but there we go.
Fantastic. Well, get down and until next week, up the Mighty Saints. Talk then.
Mighty Saints.
Go Saints.